What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the final top 10 positional rankings video of the 2020 NFL Draft season. I just want to remind you guys to join me here on YouTube for the NFL Draft Live. I know you got a lot of options out there to consume the draft, but I would be honored if you chose to spend your time hanging out, reacting to the picks with me. Also going to have one last pre-draft podcast tomorrow, planning on doing some collection of running through players, answering questions, reacting to the big Gronk news to Tampa Bay, all that stuff. So it should be a good show. That's the Fully Inflated Football Podcast. Should be up tomorrow in the afternoon at some point. So you can go check that out on your podcasting services. All right, this top 10 safety group is an interesting one. As always, we have a different mishmash of different types of talents and skill sets, strong safeties, free safeties, bandit safeties, more slot corner types. And we actually going to have a decently large surprise revealing my number one safety, Antoine Winfield. Safety out of Minnesota is my number one safety in this class. Not necessarily the number one potential grade, but I do think he can be an excellent borderline all-pro type of player. There are few pro comps that I love, and there are none in this class that I like more than Tyrann Mathieu to Antoine Winfield, because he literally does everything. Can play free safety, line up as a slot corner, play traditional strong safety, can match quickness and run man coverage out of the slot, run match coverage, run a hook zone, a curl flat zone, and can play center fielding free safety in a middle third. Instinctive, smart player, exceptional athleticism with burst and quickness. There are only two knocks on the guy, and that's that he's 5'9" and that he got injured a lot in Minnesota. But he's healthy and seems to be good to go. The injuries seem like flukes. You can only hope, I suppose, but I'm pretty confident he finished his last season healthy. So it seems all systems go. I love Antoine Winfield. I think he's got the highest floor of any safety in this class and has some of the highest upside as well. Dude is just a flat-out baller. Then number two, another kind of surprise here, Grant Delpit, and that's where the upside comes into play here. And if you had just woke up from a coma and missed the entire 2019 season, it would be no surprise that Grant Delpit was one of the two best safeties in this class. You'd actually probably be surprised that he isn't number one. He was almost like shoot in as the next Jamal Adams out of LSU, as this versatile, big-bodied safety that's just this rare breed. I was looking, there's actually a lot less 6'2" plus safeties in the league than you would think. And three of the best safeties in the league right now, if not four of them, are 6'2" and up. Justin Simmons, Harrison Smith, Derwin James, and then Jamal Adams is actually 6'1", but a bigger bodied guy. And if you actually go and look at an NFL roster, there's not a whole lot of guys in that 6'2" range that are considered top safeties. So I do think the upside is still just ridiculous with Grant Delpit. That was a lot of time analyzing his size. What does he do on the football field? Well, he was actually used a lot as a free safety, which is counterintuitive to what you think of a more bigger bodied guy like a Jamal Adams, a Derwin James, where I project him to be at his best at the next level. You know, he is a little stiff. He's not a super fast safety. He has good speed, but he's not that rangy free safety type of guy. I like him down towards the box, matching up on tight ends, slot wide receivers, taking on some of those guys in the run game, using those playmaking instincts that he has to fly to the ball. So I do think some of that could have hurt his film at LSU, being misused a little bit, but also a ton of missed tackles at LSU, which is a red flag. You need to coach that into him. You draft Grant Delpit realizing that he does take bad angles. He comes in a little too aggressive and, simply put, needs to improve his technique as a tackler. Luckily enough, that might be the most coachable technique of anything on the defensive side of the ball. He does everything else extremely well. They also asked a lot of him in coverage to run a lot of man coverage, which is not easy for safeties to do, but more often than not, he actually looked pretty good doing it. He does have good range, so you can use him up as a free safety if you want. So I still view Grant Delpit as a traitsy, versatile player with a ton of upside. Definitely some risk factor in there. I did not use a comparison for him because, like I said, there's a lack of taller safeties like this. His play style, I think, projects to be somewhat similar to Derwin James, Jamal Adams, but those are two of, if not the best safeties in the league, and I'm not comfortable saying Grant Delpit can be that, but can he be Justin Simmons, somewhere in that top 10 range of safeties? I think he absolutely has that upside, and if he can really improve his tackling, why can't he be a Derwin James type of guy? So really polarizing player in this class that has fallen a lot in the most recent season, but I'm definitely comfortable with him at number 2. All right, number 3. You're probably wondering where Xavier Mckinney is at this point, and it's still not going to be him. I do have Ashtyn Davis, like literally just a smidgen above, a 76.8 overall grade for Davis and a 76.7 for Xavier McKinney. Spoiler, he's going to be next. But Ashtyn Davis brings more of that range and free safety, which is simply put a more rare trait. I do like Xavier McKinney. We'll talk about him in a second, but I don't think he has the range and true center fielding safety abilities. A bit of a different player. Ashtyn Davis, I feel very comfortable that you're drafting a starting caliber player. There's nothing he does poorly. He tackles well and consistently. He doesn't put himself out of position. He has range. He might not be a guy that's going to man up a lot of tight ends and thrive in the box, but he can do some of that stuff. So I compare him to Marcus Maye, who's a really good free safety for the Jets, was a second-round pick where I think Ashtyn Davis will go. The floor here for Ashtyn Davis is just really, really nice, and I think it's also a position as that true free safety that is a thinner position in the league, as opposed to more of a box safety, slot safety type of guy that I think Xavier McKinney will be more at the next level. McKinney doesn't quite have the long speed, the range to be that center fielder or even a too high free safety. I don't love him in that situation. I do like him in the box. I love the Malcolm Jenkins parallels with Xavier McKinney. I don't know if he's quite as good in coverage as Malcolm Jenkins or ever will be, but he certainly could be. My comparison for him is Clinton Dix. It's easy for me to make that comparison. It's easy for you to call me lazy for saying that as another Alabama safety here, but I think there are a lot of parallels in his game. He's a risk taker that's not an elite athlete who makes really flashy, good-looking plays, but will quite often, frankly, leave himself out of position, is not necessarily reliable as a free safety because of that lack of range, because of that aggressive tendency, does have a lot of missed tackles just as Clinton Dix does. So I do think he's going to be a starting caliber player. I do like him better in the box because he actually does have some of the better quickness and kind of playmaking instincts as far as making quick breaks on the ball, as well as the ability to match up tight ends, running backs out of the backfield. So I like him a lot more in the box, kind of that slot safety role. That's why I do think the Malcolm Jenkins comparisons are very fair. And if he became the type of player Malcolm Jenkins is, I wouldn't be stunned. Then we got Kyle Duggar at number 5. This is another comparison that I really like is Adrian Amos, who's played a little free safety, played a little strong safety, is a bigger bodied kind of thumping safety, but has rare speed at that size and is a phenomenal tackler. So I see Duggar as kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type of versatile safety. Will probably spend a lot of time in that strong safety role. As a 6'1", 217-pound safety, maybe even playing some bandit linebacker in dime packages. I like him in those situations. He has the size to take on blocks for a safety, but I do think teams can utilize that speed as well. Where you do question some things is sort of the coverage instincts, the route recognition, the quickness to man up guys, whether it's a tight end or a running back or a slot wide receiver. You know, he has good burst and kind of suddenness breaking downwards, but I don't know kind of laterally moving backwards how great he's going to be as far as his coverage goes. But Amos, a guy that for the Bears, for the Packers, has just kind of moved around the different safety spots, been a guy that flies to the ball and is a very secure tackler and is very rarely out of position as far as coverage, but sometimes does get there a step late. It isn't always going to be that elite coverage guy, but it's just going to be a very steady safety by the true definition of the word. Then the number 6 guy on my list is definitely a quote-unquote sleeper, a guy that not so many people have brought up. So Julian Blackmon out of Utah, and the reason you haven't heard of him is because he tore his ACL in the second to last game of the year. If that did not happen, he would be at the top of this list. I can almost guarantee it. Unfortunately, did not get the chance to participate in the Senior Bowl. Didn't get to go to the Combine, all this stuff. He's been rehabbing that knee on top of all of that. with the Corona situation, this guy has just been completely swept under the rug. But I see no reason why he wouldn't get the hype that guys like Kyle Duggar and Ashtyn Davis have received. He was one of the best safeties in all of college football, behind probably Antoine Winfield last year. He also played in a very NFL-style scheme in that Utah defense that coaches those D-backs very well. We've now seen a good track record of guys coming out of this very position in this defense with Marcus Williams and Marquise Blair. Julian Blackmon is the next good free safety to come out of Utah. He has good, not great speed. Not the best quickness, not a guy that's going to come towards the box and get right up in tight ends and slot wide receivers' face, run a lot of match coverage. He's a high center fielding, high third safety in a cover 3. Coming downhill, he's a very good tackler. I think he's going to translate right away as a free safety in the NFL as soon as that ACL heals. In 2020, I'm not too worried about that ACL. I loved him in a spot with the Dallas Cowboys. I did in my last mock draft where they have guys now, but in a year they're going to need a replacement. He's a guy that can come in down the stretch, be an impact for you as a playoff team, be your second free safety that comes in on dime looks, and then in year 2 really emerges, to me, like a Marcus Williams has, as one of the better free safeties in the league. So I'm a big fan of Julian Blackmon. You just have some of those question marks. He's also kind of a one-year wonder because he did play corner as a junior. But after Marcus Blair left, they needed that free safety position, and he had a seamless transition and dominated that role. Then we got Jeremy Chinn at number 7. This guy's been getting the occasional first-round hype, which is justified based on how good of an athlete he is. His upside is incredible. The deal is he's coming from a smaller level, and he didn't really dominate. Now, they did use him mostly as a free safety, which is not how I picture him. He is very fast and a very fluid mover, and at that level of competition, it was almost unfair for him to be playing at free safety, so I get why the college did it. I see him translating as more of a strong safety, a bandit linebacker type of player. Has the size to take on blocks and can be that guy like we've talked about with Isaiah Simmons, who flips the script on offenses who think they have a mismatch problem at tight end or running back or slot wide receiver. He offers that rare size speed coverage potential, but it's really a projection. He honestly wasn't all that in coverage. He got away with being able to be a step late because his speed would make up for it. He was a very good tackler, but didn't always, show the best physicality in the run game. So I do question about if he's going to play a lot of linebacker, how well is that going to translate? Look, I'm in love with the upside with Jeremy Chinn as much as anyone. I do have a 2nd or 3rd round grade on him. I think with the right coaching, he can be a beast, but there's a couple names. Josh Jones, TJ Green, Lonnie Ballantyne, these just massive, fast bodies that just weren't very good football players or came from smaller levels of competition, whatever it may be. Granted, all those guys were D1 players, but we've seen players like this before that are just polarizing workout warriors that just don't really translate to the NFL or don't put in the work that they need to. So I'm not saying that's Jeremy Chinn. He's just a total boom or bust pick that I do think needs good coaching. Then we got L'Jarius Sneed, total sleeper cell. We're getting into the day 3 of the draft here, 3rd to 4th round grade. He came out and ran a 4.37. Really, drew attention to himself at the combine, a 41-inch vertical jump as well. So a guy that had pretty steady tape as a free safety in his final season. Wasn't always there, wasn't an elite playmaker, but did show some flashes of intuition as that free safety to make those breaks, but was a little over aggressive at times. Was actually a really good tackler, which I think is a good sign, because sometimes these skinnier, smaller school guys that are basically just track stars, they're not very physical, they aren't willing to come up and hit you. L'Jarius Sneed will do that. He's got pretty good ball skills as well, so I'm definitely willing to take a chance on this guy. Late day 2, early day 3, as a guy that we talked about the rarity of those true center fielding free safeties with Julian Blackmon, with Ashtyn Davis. The same thing can be said about L'Jarius Sneed. He also has a lot of upside to potentially convert to a cornerback, especially if you are a Seattle type of team. Think of like a Trey Flowers conversion. If you can teach him how to play press coverage, he can absolutely convert to a corner in a press man cover 3 scheme with some pretty rare long speed to him. He is a little stiff. I don't think he's going to be the best man cover corner, but he's got some upside, but definitely needs coaching wherever you want to play him. Then we got Kayvon Wallace, kind of the opposite. Not a super high upside athlete, but a very steady player at Clemson. That's another comparison I like. Duron Harmon, who's been a 10-year pro for the Patriots, something like that, who's played the same role that I project Kayvon Wallace to have success in, and that is as your third safety. I don't think he's ideally ever going to be your starting safety. He just doesn't have the range. He doesn't really have that physicality as a run defender either. On rundowns, I think backs are going to kind of abuse him from a tackling and the blocking. He would have to engage with a lot on a consistent basis if he was a full-on starter. But 3rd and 15, 3rd and 9, even 3rd and 7, whatever, you go dime and you bring in that 6th or even 7th defensive back, he can be that guy that comes off the bench and is your too-high safety, because I don't think he's a true starting center fielder either, just because he doesn't have that elite range, but he has really good playmaking instincts, understands where quarterbacks are trying to go with the ball, put him in a position where he can just kind of drop back, survey the field, and then make a break on the ball. He is a very instinctive cover player, just not an exceptional athlete. And kind of a guy that doesn't thrive in any specific area. Then last up, Geno Stone. You kind of know what you're getting in an Iowa defensive back. You're getting a good tackler. You're getting a guy that understands zone coverages. The difference here is, Geno Stone isn't Desmond King. He's not Amani Hooker. He played free safety, but he's built like those other guys, that thicker kind of nickel back. So I see him converting to more of a strong safety role at the next level, a 4.6 240. He also didn't show the great range on tape. I think there was a lot of times offenses attacked the sideline when Geno Stone just couldn't get sideline to sideline very fast. So I see him transitioning to more of that strong safety slot defender role, where he could actually be much better in the NFL than he was at Iowa. Not that he was a bad player, but put him in shorter areas where he can use those instincts a little more in shorter zones as opposed to, high zones. And he can really maximize the size he has as a run defender and a tackler as well. A tough guy for tight ends to block or slot wide receivers to block. So I compare him to Tavon Wilson, who played that role we just described for the Detroit Lions. Maybe never going to be a superstar, but I think he can be a starting caliber, secure, strong safety in the traditional sense of the word. Does have some experience at free safety. Doesn't have the worst range in the world. He could do some of that stuff we talked about with Kayvon Wallace being your third safety off the bench, where you go too high. I just don't love him as a single high center fielding free safety, more a too high free safety. All right, so that's the top 10 list. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed. Also, let me know if there's any players you felt I shorted here. And of course, if you want to know where I have any other safeties in this class, you can get my draft board on my Patreon. It's patreon.com/ThatFranchiseGuy, where you can get my player evals on every safety in this class. All right, peace out, everyone. We'll see you later.